Hey, thanks for joining me. Today we're starting a new series called The Reason for God because it relates to a book called The Reason for God by Pastor Tim Keller. And it's giving people with questions good reasons to believe in God. Faith is trust or confidence placed in someone or something. Faith is an important topic. When you really think about it, faith is possibly the most important belief that we have. On a superficial level, we have to demonstrate faith every single day. Faith that the roof over our heads won't collapse. Faith that the food that we just ordered is not going to poison us. Faith that the oncoming traffic, in the other lane is going to stay in that lane. Without faith, you would really have to give up living. On a deeper level, though, we're also told that our entire eternity hangs in the balance of faith. You can have faith in science. That's all that there is all that we can taste, touch, see, smell. Basically, everything that we can see is all there is. It's just this physical world. Or you can have faith that there's something larger than yourself, something bigger, possibly even something eternal. Faith for so many people directs their lives here and now and also affects how they see the possibility for eternity. It's this deeper concept of faith that gets a bit personal. Faith is a personal topic. You may be born into a family of faith, and when you're young, the faith of your family is your whole world. Your parents lead you into the faith that they have and that you believe to be true because they believe it. Or maybe it's a family that excludes faith from your life altogether. Either way, most kids accept the faith of their parents as their own. But there comes a point when kids grow up and they start to question what they really believe. Emerging adults in high school and beyond can no longer rely on the faith of their parents. They have to determine what they really believe for themselves. They have to determine if there's a God or not. And if they determine there is a God, they have to determine which of the many gods there are out there, quote unquote, in the world is the right God that they believe in. A person's faith has implications for family life. It affects how a person lives. It influences their view of morality and ethics. It influences how we view life and our possibility for eternity. So you can say that faith is kind of a big deal. Now, I know that since you're here, and you may have grown up with some kind of introduction to faith already. A parent or a friend got you into faith, and you probably have at least some understanding of Christianity. You know that Christianity has to do something with God, with Jesus, with the church, or with wearing gold jewelry with crosses on it, right? Whether you know a lot about Christianity or just a little bit about Christianity, there comes a time, if it hasn't happened already, when there's going to be something that you disagree with. Something that you learn about faith, or possibly somebody brings a discrepancy to your attention that they believe is going to shatter the whole foundation for Christian faith, or possibly you don't claim to be a Christian right now, and there's just some things that you've heard about Christianity that you don't like or you don't agree with. Doubts, questions, challenges to faith. That's what this series is all about. You are growing up in a culture that is increasingly opposed to Christianity. You've probably already had your faith challenged if you are a Christian, and you're going to continue to have your faith challenged for the rest of your life. And what I want to do during the series is I want there to be a safe place for you to express your doubts. I want this series to be a place where you can say, I don't know, or I don't agree, or I have a problem with, and when you say those things, you're not going to be met with anger or hostility. You're going to be met with, you know what? That's a great question, and let's find out some answers together. The Reason for God is a fantastic book. If you've not read it already, we sell it in the grounds at MEC, or you can order it on Amazon. For the series, you do not need to read the book to really join us every single week. But as a resource, I definitely recommend that you read it. For those of us joining in person, for Real Life in person, we're going to be in discussion groups related to a DVD curriculum that Pastor Tim Keller put out in correspondence with this book. And due to copyright reasons, I can't show this on YouTube here. So if you are within proximity and can join us, please join us in person every week. But if not, let's jump in to our conversation for today. One big question or challenge to faith is, isn't the Bible a myth? This is a great question because many religions claim to have a sacred text. For instance, Mormons have the Book of Mormon, Jews have the Tanakh, Muslims have the Quran, the Christians have the Bible. People adhering to these religions claim, every single one of them claim that their book is the real book and is from the real God. So it's important to search these texts and ask the real good questions of every religion. Is this text true. The topic of biblical reliability is so deep, so check out the links provided to find more resources. And right now I want to give you a few ways that I have come to develop a reason for believing that the Bible is more than just a myth in my life. First, it's the sacredness with which people throughout history have viewed the Bible. The New Testament has had a 2,000-year run. The Old Testament is closer to 3,000 years. And the care for which people have preserved the Bible and held it in such a high regard, followed its teachings, and continued to be historically supported has really made me view this text as more than just a myth for me. Another reason why I believe in the Bible that is not a myth is because of evidence outside the Bible. The stories that we read in the Bible are not just fairy tales. Other historians and other authors have written about the same people and the same events outside the Bible, and archaeology actually really continues to support the Bible. And besides miracles and the spiritual component that the Bible discusses, I haven't found any evidence, scientifically speaking, to discredit the Bible, only to support it. And a third reason I have for faith, and that I believe that, in the Bible, is the morality of the Bible. When followed properly, I believe makes the world a better place. Now, yes, there are people who have done some really bad things in the name of Christianity, but their bad choices and decisions is not real, authentic Christian morality of love and kindness and generosity and selflessness and patience and goodness. I believe if everyone lived out the teachings of Jesus, this world would be a better place. Another roadblock that gets in the way of people believing in God is they think, hasn't science disproved Christianity? This is another great question. I'm glad you have it, because science is important. Science can support or discredit certain beliefs. You can't argue gravity. You can't say that fire is cold. You can't breathe underwater without assistance. If someone makes a claim about biology or chemistry or anatomy or any other scientific topic for that matter, the pursuit of science can help us understand those topics better. So if science somehow disproves Christianity, we do have a really big problem on our hands, but I don't think we have a problem. I don't really have a problem with God in science. A quote from our senior pastor that he likes to say often at MEC is, if Christianity is true, it will stand up against any intellectual scrutiny. Now this means bring your questions to God, bring your questions about the Bible, come and seek out answers to these great and honest questions and doubts. And again, I think the topic of science versus religion, it runs deep and wide. So check out the other links for more resources on this. But for now, here are a couple ways that I have found reason to believe in God in relation to scientific evidence. First, I believe that God and evolution have the possibility to coexist. The Bible tells us that God created the world and everything in it, and the universe and everything in it, but it doesn't tell us how he did it. Creation could have taken weeks, years, thousands of years, billions of years. It doesn't say how God ended up doing it. When you think about it, for those people that really do believe in a Big Bang theory, what could be louder and more forceful than the voice of God saying, "Let there be light," which is the first recorded thing that God says in the Bible. Another reason I have for believing that science is not disproving God for me, it could be summed up in what I heard a comedian say recently that I found to be funny, but also really insightful. And I slightly edited this for language purposes, all right? He said, some people think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe. And the nothing people make fun of the God people and say, God doesn't exist. And I say, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree that if your nothing spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty magical nothing. I give that quote because, honestly, even from a Christian perspective, existence itself is really unexplainable. We can't fathom in our human minds the concept of a start or finish, or even of eternity. We have these theories about origins of the universe, but science can't definitively prove what happened, and it can't definitively disprove the existence of a God who created everything. And for me, when I look around and I try to look at things even scientifically, for me, the universe looks more like it was created than it just happened by chance. Another challenge to reasonable faith for many people are miracles. The blind seeing, the lame walking, the deaf hearing, the sick being healed, the dead being brought back to life. While miracles pose a problem for many people, I don't think this needs to be that way for you. First, if you believe in the possibility of a God, then you should believe in the possibility of miracles. Because if there's a God, then God created the laws of science. And if God created the laws of science, then God can break the laws of science or intervene into the laws of science. Next, when it comes to miracles of the Bible, the existence of the Bible speaks to the validity of miracles. And let me explain that. If miracles didn't happen, early readers of the Bible would have discredited the Bible as fake. There were people around during the time of the actions of the Bible that could have said, that didn't happen. The blind did not see, the lame did not walk, and they would have just tossed the Bible aside. Those are just a couple of reasons why miracles don't shake, my belief in God. And if you want to dive into this more, if it's something that shakes your faith, check out the links of the resources provided. Now, some people claim that they can't believe in God because it has been they can't believe in the Bible because it's been translated into so many times that there's no way that it possibly could be accurate. And that is a fair challenge to the Bible, but it's a little misguided. In a very short description of this topic, all ancient texts that are produced from manuscripts are original copies of what was originally written. And when a text has many manuscripts and they're written within a short amount of time, and they have insignificant or little to no errors associated with them, that text is proven to be reliable. We have other ancient texts with a few, manuscripts that we find in our culture to be reliable. The Bible, when compared to all these other ancient texts, have thousands of more manuscripts, writings of copies compared to these other ones that we find to be reliable. And we know with confidence that what we have in the Bible is true to what God had originally written and inspired in the original authors. And again, we have links provided to help you find more resources on this topic. But how can Christians claim that the Bible is true? Many people claim, truth to be relative. That's true for you, it's true for you. What's true for me is true for me. But this relative view of truth doesn't always hold out, does it? If I say that gravity exists and you say that gravity doesn't exist, there's a way to see who's right, and one of us is not going to be happy with the results. When I see people confused on this topic in this area, it's usually in matters of opinions and feelings. So let me explain. For instance, if it's 50 degrees outside and I say it's cold and you say it's not cold, you could chalk that up to saying we have two truths coexisting at the same time that are in opposition to each other. It's cold and it's not cold at the same time. That's what it is. That's truth being relative. But what's really happening is a difference of opinion or difference of feeling. The truth is that it's 50 degrees outside. That is the objective truth. Us saying whether we feel cold or we don't feel cold is a matter of opinion. It's not an objective truth claim. It's feeling about a true reality, the reality that it's 50 degrees. So people say that belief in God is just a matter of personal or relative truth. To say that I believe in Jesus, that he's true for me, but it's not true for you, they say that that's an okay thing to make. That's true for you, true for me. But that's not how truth works. Because see, if I say I believe that Jesus is God, I'm either right or I am wrong, because Jesus can't both be God and not God at the same time. And if I say that Jesus is God and you say that Jesus is not God, we can't both be right either in that scenario. So don't fall into the trap of believing that all truth is relative. That's not how truth works. As we close, you may have heard people tell you, to believe and not doubt. Or you may have heard people tell you to not ask questions about faith. Or you may have felt bad or guilty or shameful for having doubts and questions about your faith. And what I want to do is I want to encourage you that the doubt and the questions that you have are normal. And actually, I support you having those. And what I want to do at Real Life is make this a safe place for you to explore answers to those questions that you have without guilt or shame. But in your doubts and in the challenges to your faith, don't give up. There are real answers out there. There's objective truth out there. There are reasonable explanations why people believe in God, in the Bible, and in Jesus. Don't ditch your faith just because you have doubts. Let your doubts deepen your faith. And I hope this was helpful. I hope you can join us over the next few weeks as we dive more into these topics, and I hopefully can provide reasons for you to believe in God. And let me pray for us as we close. God, I pray that every student listening who has doubts, who has challenges to their faith, who don't have all the answers, which I assume is all of us. I pray, God, that you can give us insight and answers. I pray that you give us direction and guidance, that we can explore answers to our great questions about faith, and that you would lead us to peace, knowing that you are truth, and you will guide us in that truth and give us a reason to believe. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.